How much longer are you drinking this Starbucks tea?
Until my voice comes back.
It's
getting better.
There. It's almost
so
there.
Close.
I thought you were still like another 5-6 days away, but you're
there. I think
there.
we're 3.
You're there.
Like, I think by Monday, we're going to be okay.
And you can get loud now also.
But I did start to get nervous last night.
About what?
My voice. Because it was still pretty bad. And I forgot I was calling we'll call it a charity basketball event, but it was just me going to work with Chris, my dear husband, who signed me up to be his co-MC for a work basketball tournament. And I couldn't do anything. And I was like, I'm never getting a voice back. But this morning, I think we have turned a small corner.
Okay.
An actual corner. The corner has been turned.
All right. Yeah, you just got to sleep. Every day gets better after a good night's sleep.
My little ring that tells me how I sleep,
I
got a 92 sleep score last night. Do you know how good that is?
Jessica, shut up.
I was pulling like 50s
Jessica,
and 60s.
Why do you care so much about grades? What are you talking about? Look at me, I got a 92.
It's my stats.
Are you kidding me?
No.
What are you doing? What was the song today?
I listened to the Wicked soundtrack.
To get ready?
Yeah.
You're seeing it when?
7:20 p.m.
Today?
Today.
Okay.
I'm gonna get a Glenda
No
popcorn
spoilers.
bucket.
Wait, do they have special buckets for this?
My friend called me. My friend saw it last night in New York City, and he called me at 11, and he left me a voicemail, and he said he cried 6 times.
About what? It's not even sad, is it?
It's just beautiful.
Oh, come on. Like we hadn't seen CGI and people putting on colored makeup before. Hell, white people do that every Halloween.
Some moms are apparently mad because they thought it was a princess movie, and then they learned it's about witchcraft.
Oh, poor babies.
We're so back. We are so back. What's up, everybody? It is Friday, November 22nd. It's going to be a good day. Jessica Benson with you from the Grind City Media Studios in Memphis, Tennessee. CJ Hurt behind the glass. Coming up on today's show, snowy Thursday night football. The Memphis Tigers basketball team improved to 4-0. We will get through all the happenings of last night. Then Lang Whitaker is going to join us about 20 minutes in. We'll get into all things Memphis Grizzlies, an injury update for Vince Williams Jr. The Grizzlies also kick off a 5-game stretch against below 500 teams starting this weekend in Chicago. We'll get into all of that. We will do our RAGGOWs. Our games of the weekend in college football and the NFL. I will demand justice for Indiana, and we'll talk about the games we're most looking forward to. We'll end with a little Music Friday. I really already cried listening to music this morning. I'm embarrassed to say it, but we'll get into that. The Coachella lineup came up. It's Friday. It's going to be a good day. You know what we say. Oh.
No.
Thanks for showing up, Memphis. Nothing compares to catching your Grizzlies IRL. And that all starts with buying tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Ticketmaster gets you to the game so you can catch every highlight. Put that jersey collection to use for the next game and get Grizzlies tickets at Ticketmaster. Whether they're here at FedEx Forum or on the road, Ticketmaster's got your back when it comes to scoring tickets. And there's no better brag than saying you saw it live.
Kroger shoppers and Grizz fans, one exclusive last-minute discounted ticket deals texted straight to you during the Grizzlies 2024-2025 season. Sign up with the new Kroger Buzzer Beater deal. Fans can sign up by texting Grizz to 636-479 or visit your local Kroger store in the Delta Division and scan the QR code. By signing up, you agree to receive recurring automated promotional and personalized marketing text messages from the Memphis Grizzlies. Consent is not a condition of any purchase. Message frequency varies. Message and data rates may apply.
Thanks for showing up, Memphis. Nothing beats catching your Grizzlies IRL, and nobody knows that better than you. So next time you want to hit up a game, Ticketmaster's got your back with tickets to every upcoming matchup. Whether you're catching the Grizzlies at home or on the road, you'll find tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Keep putting that jersey collection to use and get Grizzlies tickets today. There's no better brag than saying you saw it live. See you courtside again soon, Memphis.
Justin Timberlake.
I'm bringing sexy back.
The Forget Tomorrow World Tour. Live in Memphis. Justin Timberlake. FedEx Forum, Saturday, November 23rd. Get tickets now at LiveNation.com. The brand new single Selfish is available to stream and download now.
If I get jealous, I can't help it.
For more, hit up JustinTimberlake.com.
D'Anthony Melton took my boys, my little guys, to the ice cream stand. He was like, I'm going to get ice cream. You want to go with? So he took my little guys to the ice cream stand. So, guess who their favorite player is now? John Morant. But outside of that, D'Anthony Melton's pretty high up on the list. How about this? We got youth small D'Anthony Melton jerseys at our house right now. Love D'Anthony Melton. That was a fun night.
It was a fun night, man.
The Gary Parrish Show, live on weekdays at 10 a.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Who will lead the Grizz in steals this season?
I'm going to go with Pippen for steals this season.
So I'm going to go with Jaren.
I'm going to go, as long as he's in the rotation, I'm going to go Jake LaRavia for total steals, and I'll have Marcus Smart in my back pocket for steals per game.
Hey, Grizzlies fans, be sure to tune in to Grizzbeat, where the panel and I break down all things Grizzlies and take a look at the rest of the NBA as well. The show is live every Wednesday, 2 p.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Feels great to feel the sunshine. Gotta own a day like it's all mine. Just got paid in his own time. Been working hard, I've been on the grind. I deserve this feeling, having my way. I've been on this healing. This is my day. The sun's out, let's have a little fun now. I wanna let it all out. That's what's it all about. Cause I deserve this feeling, have it my way. I deserve this healing. This is my day.
Grind City Media presents The Jessica Benson Show with CJ Hurt. Live from the Grind City Media Studios on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
What's up, everybody? TGIF. It is Friday. I am officially a week into my voiceless life, but I do think we are coming out on the other side. We got some Grizzlies injury updates yesterday. The news of Vince Williams Jr., grade 3 ankle sprain, going to be reevaluated in 4 weeks. We'll talk to Lang Whitaker about that when he joins us in the second segment, along with all the upcoming happenings for the Grizzlies. But last night, CJ, was one of my favorite things in the world. It was a snow game. I think the actual unofficial start to winter is when we get the first real snow game of the season, and for it to be an AFC North battle between the Steelers and the Browns just felt right.
That's football weather right there.
So beautiful.
That's we watch football, we call a lot of stuff football, but that's football the way football is meant to be played. In the cold, in the snow, and with large men knocking the hell out of one another. Did you see them knock Jameis's comms loose?
All the way out of his helmet.
Completely out of it. They hit him so hard on that touchdown run, they knocked his comms out of his helmet. That was incredible.
The horse is prepared for battle, but victory comes from the Lord, Jameis Winston. However, victory does not keep your comms thing in when you are in the middle of a snow game. I think the official signifier that you can listen to Christmas music is after you've watched a football game like last night. That is when Mariah Carey should come through with the "It's Time" moment, and that's when you should be able to listen to all of your Christmas bops.
The snow is falling.
It's so fluffy.
And it's like you don't see it on the field to start the game. And then every now and then the camera zooms in on the play. You're like, wait, it's snowing? Okay, all right, that's cool. They're playing a little bit in the snow. And I feel like at halftime, when they go in and come back out, the field is just blanketed in the snow. And right then, they should have called an official timeout, stop the clock, bring Mariah Carey down onto the field, and then we all sort of just do a little jig. I don't want a lot for Christmas, like on the field.
There's just one thing I need. And it was so perfect because it was 10-3 at half.
Like that's
a perfect,
that's a perfect
snow game.
That's a good football score right there.
God. And it's so funny. It's obviously not snowing here in Memphis, but it is finally cold in Memphis. And I hate that I have become this person who calls 50 degrees cold, but I was freezing last night. And it was like 40 degrees when I walked to my car this morning. So we'll call it winter, but winter is here ahead of Thanksgiving. The spirit is around, but a tough loss for the Steelers last night. A surprise of a loss for the Steelers. After the game, George Pickens said, the Browns really aren't a good team. He blamed it all on the weather conditions. I think the Browns were just a team that had nothing to lose, could go after just about everything, fourth downs, deep shots, had Jameis Winston. I thought when Jameis threw that first pick, I was like, that's exactly how this game should have ended. And then they got the ball back and ended up getting a game-winning drive.
Pickens is half right. The Browns aren't a good football team. Where he is wrong is it's not the weather's fault that you didn't convert, 2 4th and 1s in the first half? Right, that's the offense's fault. It's not the weather's fault that the offense couldn't hold on to the ball. You get the ball back up 1 with 4.5 minutes left in the game, and you can't maintain possession for 4.5 minutes. That's not the weather's fault. It's not the weather's fault that the kicker shanked it off of his foot on that last punt, giving the Browns excellent field position, putting the Steelers' defense in a bind. But still, that Steelers' defense, they should be able to get one stop against the Browns with the game on the line. That's not the weather's fault. The Steelers played what we all know and love. Well, we all know it. I love it. Like that Steelers brand of football. Unfortunately, they were let down by every position group in every facet of the game. If you get one of those 4th downs in the first half and continue to drive down the field, you probably get another score. If the punter just doesn't shank it off his foot, you make the Browns start further back, you probably can stop them and get the win. If the defense mans up and stops them, holds them, they had 3rd downs on that drive. Didn't they have 4th downs on that drive?
They had 4th downs on that
drive. You got to get stops, man. That's what let you down, not the weather. Like, you guys lost it.
Jameis called his 4th quarter an NFL Films moment. He said, "The snow starts pouring down. My feet start getting heavy because I'm squishing through the snow. Man, it was so good. So great to end up getting a win." The Jameis shtick before the game, like where he does the horse is prepared for battle. Do you enjoy that anymore?
No, I've never enjoyed it.
I've never
enjoyed it. I wish Jenkins would shut the hell up.
But now he's doing it because he knows, like, it's a bit. And the curtain has been lifted on the bit. And now he's just doing it because he knows it's a bit that's going to get people going. And I don't think we should encourage it anymore.
We should have been stopped encouraging
Jameis. I'm done enabling Jameis Winston.
Good. Welcome to the club.
Thank you. Feels good to be here.
When Jameis stepped out there and ate that W in New Orleans, I was like, oh no, this dude, I'm done with this dude. When this dude said, hey, what I got here? What I got here? Well, I got to win. What we going to do with the win? What we going to do with the win? We're going to eat that win. Like, Jameis, like, shut the hell up. There's a backup defensive tackle who's looking at Jameis like, yo, this is weird. I don't want to play here anymore. Come on, man.
I don't want to play here anymore.
And I think that was the year after he threw like 28 interceptions or something ridiculous like that.
It was.
No, I'm not paying Jameis any damn attention.
It was a surprising end for that game last night. I will admit, I did not stay up into the wee hours of the evening to watch the Memphis-San Francisco basketball game, but the Memphis Tigers did get a late night win in San Francisco, 68-64. Saw the score and was like, oh, that was close. And then went back and checked and saw that Memphis made 6 field goals in the first half of this game. They shot 24% and then proceeded to shoot 48% in the second half, 47% from 3. This is becoming a pattern. And they're 4-0, which is great. That's precisely where you want to be. Of course, you want to be 4-0. You don't want to lose a game. But going into their big matchup against UConn on Monday in Maui, where you will be taking on the back-to-back national champions. But you cannot make 6 field goals against the back-to-back national champions because they will bury you in the Maui sand early and often. We'll go from a snow game to a sand game. This team is just bizarre, and I can't speak to it emphatically because, again, I did not stay up until midnight watching Memphis, San Francisco. I'm sorry. I have failed you. But in reading the recaps of it from the Daily Memphian, it's a pattern that we have seen where they come out with a bit of a snooze to start this game, and then suddenly they're on a 10-0 run to start the second half, and they're able to put enough defense together and enough second half shooting together to get to a point where they're 4-0 on the season. It was a neutral site game, which I don't know how I feel about. It was played at the Chase Center, but it was a neutral.
That's not a neutral site
game.
Who are they playing?
What are we doing here? San Francisco.
In the Chase Center? Where's that?
San Francisco.
Okay, yeah, that's not neutral site. What are we talking about?
I don't understand why they would do that.
What you mean?
Call it a neutral site game.
I don't either.
It just feels goofy.
Yeah.
So they can game the net, according to Jacob.
That's a good point then. No, it wouldn't game the.
It would
who would have
game
gamed
the
the
net
net
for
for
San
who? For San Francisco?
Because
Okay.
it would have been, if San Francisco had beaten Memphis,
Yeah.
it would have been a quad 1 win.
Oh, okay.
We're talking quads.
Okay, but if
But
they had
because
played
it's
at home, Memphis
then it
would have been a
would've been
quad 2. Got you. Okay, there
Which
it
is
is.
just
Look at Jacob knowing why they do
interesting.
stuff.
Thank you, Jacob.
Thank you.
Good to have Jacob in our ear. It's been
better.
It's been a minute.
Say what about Landers? That's why Ole Miss is playing Utah at Landers to make it a neutral
Okay,
site.
something must be stopped.
Yeah, we got to stop this.
This is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, this is terrible.
It is one of those things where
You got to
like,
be X amount of miles from your campus.
Right.
Like 400 miles from your campus for it to be neutral.
I mean, I would assume it felt nothing like a neutral game.
Yeah. What would it? It's in San Francisco. You're playing San Francisco. You're Memphis.
You're like 5 miles away from the San Francisco campus.
Yeah.
This isn't even a situation like when the Warriors they would always show the shot of the Golden Gate Bridge for the Warriors games, and it would just drive Chris absolutely insane.
Why?
Because he'd be like, nobody took that bridge to get to this game.
But it's still in Golden State, isn't it?
Sure.
Okay.
But it's the principles of it.
Oh,
I think
whatever.
San Francisco, like they don't have to take any bridge to get to Chase Center. I think it's just right there, and they're able to scurry on over. But alas, Memphis does get the win, and so that is good news for them. I'm guessing you did not watch the Memphis-San Francisco game.
No, but I've watched a decent amount I think I've watched like 2.5 Tigers games. I watched 2 full ones and a half of another one. And I fear, it's early in the season, teams make adjustments all the time. I can't think of one that Coach Hardaway and this Memphis Tigers program has made, right? So whatever they start the season as, that's how they end the season as well. And so if they're starting the season with a bunch of turnovers, they're going to end the season averaging a bunch of turnovers. If they start the season shooting poorly from 3, they're going to end the season shooting poorly from 3, right? Historically speaking, under Coach Penny Hardaway. So if they start the season off bad in the first half, I fear come February, what we're going to be talking about is, man, why haven't they just figured out to start a little bit better in the first half? They've got to find a way to make more than 6 shots in the first half. I fear that this is going to be a common issue because it's been an issue in, 3 of the 4 games?
Yes.
Yeah.
Before we take a break and get to Lang and talk about the Memphis Grizzlies, who play the Bulls in Chicago tomorrow. Also got that Vince Williams Jr. injury update. We do have a chat question of the day. If you're joining us live, please hit the like button. Also vote on the chat question of the day. This is very important because in the history of our show, we have a Hall of Fame for the commercials that play on the show that you listen to each and every day. And we are voting. We are taking your vote, your voice. Is the Justin Timberlake Forget Tomorrow World Tour commercial worthy of the Grind City Media Hall of Fame induction?
Wait. The Grind City Media Jessica Benson Show / Rise and Grind. Hall of
Correct.
Fame. Yeah.
Thank you for the clarification. It was too long for the question.
Yes, way too long for the question, but I don't think the other shows care about our commercial Hall of Fame like that.
We care deeply about our commercial Hall of Fame.
Because of Texas Toast. Like, come on, man.
And peanut butter jelly time.
Wake up and munch it.
And Anita Baker.
Oh.
And never forget the meteoric rise of Kane Brown.
I will never forget his meteoric
Do you know
rise.
I know who Kane Brown is?
Because of the meteoric rise? Yes.
Like, come on. So it's up to you on if the Justin Timberlake Forget Tomorrow World Tour, it's going to ruin the tour, but it hasn't ruined the tour because Justin Timberlake is coming to Memphis, Tennessee this weekend. Is it worthy of induction? Yes? No. Right now, no has 60% of the vote. So if you love that commercial, if you want it to live in our hearts forever, get to voting. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. Lang Whitaker is going to join us. He's been filling in for everything this week. We'll talk to him about the Grizzlies, talk to him about some of the upcoming college football games over the weekend. We'll get into it with Lang when we come back.
All laces, really bright yellow primary color. You got black on the trim and on the edges.
I gotta get 'em.
And you got some red there as well. Look at that right there, Mike. Look at that right there.
Man, look at that G. Look at that G, boy. That G is moving strong right there, too, man.
Get all of your HBCU sports and culture news by tuning in to HBCU Huddle with CJ Hurt and Mike Wallace. New episodes drop every Thursday on grindcitymedia.com, YouTube, and Spotify.
Let's face it, there's a lot of trash talk in basketball. But the great teams let their performance do the talking. Like Ford F-150 with Pro Power on board. A class-exclusive industry-first feature that turns your truck into a mobile generator and leaves the competition speechless. Ford F-150, official truck of the Grizzlies. Greatness starts here at your Mid-South Ford dealer. Class is full-size pickups under 8,500 pounds, GVWR.
There's no substitute for experience, the knowledge gained from having been there before, and the passion to share what you know to make everyone around you better. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies Checking from Pinnacle. Play hard. Bank easy. Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st, and you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
Grizzlies fans, dunks, dimes, and no-looks are great on TV, but nothing compares to catching them IRL. And that starts with buying tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Ticketmaster gets you to the game so you can catch every highlight in person. From seeing your favorite Grizzlies stars up close to hearing the squeak of the sneakers on the hardwood. Put that jersey collection to use and get tickets at Ticketmaster. There's no better brag than saying you saw it live. See you courtside, Memphis.
Somebody else we have not seen in a long time is Morant. Since you've seen him, does he look any different to you, or is this the same superstar Ja that we were used to?
He's always getting better, so you just got to watch out for that. That's.
And it's a revenge tour. Yeah. It's a revenge tour, like hey, the world's forgotten about me. And
I don't think they forgot.
The Chris Vernon Show, live on weekdays at noon on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
It's the top 5 worst teams in the NFL. I think the Panthers are the worst team in the NFL.
I got the Saints number 1. Ha ha ha! Let's put the Aints up there. They're terrible.
I'll take the Titans as my worst team in the NFL. If they played Will Levis, they're for sure the worst team. Maybe in NFL history. Might be worse than the 0-16 Lions if they play Will Levis.
The Odds Couple, live at 2 p.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Who will lead the Grizz in steals this season?
I'm going to go with Pippen for steals this season.
So I'm going to go with Jaren.
I'm going to go, as long as he's in the rotation, I'm going to go Jake LaRavia for total steals, and I'll have Marcus Smart in my back pocket for steals per game.
Hey, Grizzlies fans, be sure to tune in to Grizzbeat, where the panel and I break down all things Grizzlies and take a look at the rest of the NBA as well. The show is live every Wednesday, 2 p.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Welcome back. It's Friday. That means it's time to catch up with Lang Whitaker, who has been all over the place. Lang.
Welcome to Lang Whitaker City Media.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
It's been quite a week for you.
We made it though. Yeah.
How's it feel to sub in for so many things all at once?
Look, it's one of the things I subbed in for was the youth, whatever it is, day where the kids were here to learn about being pro sports career day or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I told the kids, I was like, look, yes, I'm busy, but I'm just like talking. And it's not like I'm like doing hard labor, and at the end of the day, we all have jobs we get to do in a chair. That's the whole goal of life, is to have a job you can do in a chair.
That's
and
fair.
That's why you go to college. That's why you do all these things to get a job you can do in a chair. And we have chair jobs. So I'm all right with that.
We do have chair jobs. I saw somebody, I don't know what exactly they were doing on the building across the way, but they were hanging off that building.
Oh, yeah.
And they were on the tiniest,
yes,
they were
They're caulking it. They're filling the holes with that big white caulk.
I'm so sorry for bringing it back up. My deepest apologies.
What
But
are
he
you
was on
sorry
this tiny
for?
ledge,
Yeah.
and I just thought to myself, I could never do that job. I would be a ball of nerves every single day. And instead, you're right, we get
You
to
think
sit.
you ever get used to it?
Probably.
Get used to what?
Hanging off the
Hanging
side
off
of
the
buildings?
side.
I'm sure you get used to hanging off the side of the building with the white caulk.
Eventually, at some point. Of all the things you did do the Jumbotron walk-off interviews. You got to do 2 Grizzlies wins.
Yeah, I did.
What was that experience like?
I wrote about it in the Grind City Media newsletter.
Yes.
But it's, after you did it, one of the first weeks, we were going to do the Grind City Rewind after that.
Yeah.
And you walked over and you were like, because you were like, that was a lot, and it's a lot. The hardest part about it is you don't know who you're going to interview until like the moment it happens, basically. So like as you're walking on the court, they're like, oh, you get this person. And then, like, I don't have the stats in front of me, and I can't.
There's no box score.
Nobody gave me a box score. So I had it on my phone, and I would try to take a quick glance at it. But then I feared, like, I did Jaron the first time, and I was like, all right, it's Jaron. He's just going to, like, talk. So I was like, all right, let's just go and see what happens. And then the second time I got Dez, and it was the night Taylor Jenkins broke the record. So I was able to ask about that, and, he was excited about that. So.
It is the strangest sensation. Because, like you said, we talk for a living. We do a lot of talking. And that just feels bizarre because it's so many people live. Like right now we're on a camera and we're talking to people, but no one's right there. But it's like right there, and all of the emotions coming after a game, and they just won. And if it's going down the stretch, I mean, especially that game against the Sixers, like Sixers almost came back.
I figured, like, look, you get 3 questions, right? 4 questions. So, like, look, if you're doing the thing, it means they won. And if you're talking to a player, it means they had a good game. So, like, these are sort of the ground rules, right? So I walk up. First question is going to be, hey, the team won tonight. Frame it however you want. How'd you win the game? Second question, you had a good game tonight. Obviously, you're standing here talking to me. How did you have a good game tonight? Third question, something else about the game. Defense, whatever. What'd you guys do? Yeah.
Interesting moment.
Hey, how about that dunk from, whoever, Santi?
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. Fourth question, something fun.
Right.
Jaron asked about those city uniforms. Dez asked about Taylor Jenkins. Boom, good. Let's get out of here. Let's go.
The Taylor Jenkins piece of it, I was devastated to miss the game that sent Taylor Jenkins into the top spot. But I think what has stood out to me from that is the response from the players. And you got it live from Dez in the moment, and he takes the mic. And then seeing Jaron's tweets that he's a coach that'll go to war for you, and Ja kind of stamping that, and the various articles, both DeMichael Cole and Drew Hill had pieces for the Daily Memphian and the Commercial Appeal. And it just, once again, reinforced these players love playing for Taylor Jenkins, and that has to speak for something.
I remember being here the day they did the introductory press conference for Taylor, and he comes through and he's meeting everybody and trying to learn everyone's name, and just it's like your first day on the job and you're the boss and you're trying to kind of set the tone and everything. Dylan was still on the team. Dylan Brooks is on the team, and he got introduced to Taylor for the first time, and I happened to be just kind of standing there, and Taylor went over to him and was like, hey man, like, can't wait to get to work with you. We're going to have a, great time, da-da-da. Look, let's sit down. Let's get out of here. Like, let's go have lunch. Let's go have dinner. Let's do something away from here where we can just kind of get to know each other and relax and talk and just kind of learn about each other. And Dylan was like, yeah, great. That'd be awesome. And then they had like this little moment, just the two of them. And then it was like, boom, Taylor had to go on the stage and talk. But I feel like he's really managed to kind of make that connection with a lot of the players. I grew up watching the Atlanta Braves and Bobby Cox was famous for always standing up for the players every time. And, if a player had a beef with an umpire, Bobby Cox would run out there and get thrown out before the player could, to show that he had their back, but also to show hey, I'm going to stand up for you.
Right.
Publicly. If a player screwed up, he would never throw him under the bus to the media. He would never say, when somebody, even like a couple of times, he like sub guys out in the middle of the game because they didn't hustle or they didn't do the right thing. And then when it was time to talk about it, he wouldn't really talk about it. He would just be like, hey, that happened. Taylor's sort of the same way. Like, I don't ever remember him criticizing one of his players to the media.
No.
If somebody messes up, it's in-house. We deal with it. We'll move on. I think the guys respect him for that and recognize that. And even with everything that we've been through the last few years, he always has everyone's back and he goes to war for them. And I think, like you saw this week, the players, they respect that.
Right. And I think certainly some of the undertones came from Draymond Green's comments and with the Zach Edey play and breaking the code. But that's what you want a coach to do. Like when there is a play.
Also, he's responding to another coach.
Yes.
Another coach started that.
The whole code thing started with
Draymond's coach started that. Yeah. And also Draymond, let's just appreciate the irony here. Draymond saying he went and cried to the media about all this, as Draymond goes and cries to the media about it on his podcast.
Okay, speaking of Draymond's podcast, which takes me to another podcast that I saw yesterday, Podcast P, Paul George's podcast. What do you think about the fact that we watched Paul George, you in person, me on my TV screen, get hurt again for the Sixers, leave the game, and then turn around and get on his podcast yesterday, coming off of a loss where your team is 2-12, to talk about the meeting that got leaked, what's going on with the Sixers. But it just, I know we're in this era, but I thought yesterday was such a hyper example of how weird of an era it is.
Yeah, but I mean, Draymond does the same thing.
Yes.
You know, Draymond gets thrown out of a game.
But I think that's weird
and
too.
Goes and cuts a podcast. It's, look, you can make the argument either way, right? Like, you don't want to just do it when things are going well.
Of course.
You got it. Like, you want credibility.
He has a deal. He has to pump out the content.
You got to make it, yes, good or bad. So I can see why if you're Paul George, you think, all right, I got to do it. Same time, you just got hurt again. The Sixers are 2-12 now after losing to the Grizzlies last place in the Eastern Conference. They just had this whole story on ESPN about how they couldn't get along in the meeting. Joel Embiid has turned into James Harden. I don't know if you saw him play here the other night, just flopping around, going to the free. He would draw the foul, just go immediately to the free throw line and stand there. And otherwise, he wasn't going inside the 3-point line unless he had to. That was such a weird performance to watch. Like, I feel like the Sixers have much bigger issues than a team meeting,
right?
You know, so
than him being late.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you don't want to.
And they've also had their big three played together for about half of a game for the whole season because that was it the other night. That was their big three playing together for the first time all year, and Paul George got hurt again. So there's a lot of stuff going on there, and I don't know if a podcast really is going to sway it one way or the other.
What were you going to say, CJ?
On the topic of these player podcasts, because we talked about it some, Lang, when the Draymond stuff popped off, and the thing that kind of annoyed me about the reaction to it was like, this is newsworthy, like this is news being reported, and I didn't think it was news. It's entertainment. They are being characters on these sorts of things.
It's pro wrestling.
Yeah, and Draymond is a absolutely a character. Paul George is doing some of that as well right now. I
really enjoy Paul George's podcast, so it's not about that.
Because it's very entertaining.
Yes.
Yeah, just because it's entertaining doesn't mean that it's bad.
Right.
It is good entertainment, but when it begins to be talked about and used as like news, when we sit down and start talking about actual things happening in the game itself, like that's when it begins to annoy me some, right? Draymond wanted to make offhand comments about Taylor Jenkins. Fine, sure, knock yourself out. That's funny, that's entertaining, I'm here for it. But we as basketball fans shouldn't look at that and say, Taylor Jenkins is struggling in the playoffs. That's because he's too emotional. How do you know that? Well, Draymond said it. Like, get the F out of here, man.
The problem is when it gets aggregated, right? When Draymond makes one of those podcasts and then it becomes an ESPN.com story, which it did. But like, you don't see Jeff Teague's podcast get aggregated.
Right.
You don't. No, I don't see it getting written up on ESPN.com. You know what I mean?
Like that.
It doesn't cross that line into news.
Got you.
Like the Draymond thing.
I got you.
The same way like you don't, like we've seen a lot of clips from the Tony Allen, Zach Randolph podcast lately. But you don't see that become news.
It doesn't become news until something is said
It might become
enough.
viral. It might become a meme, all those things. But it's not like, a real news story because it's not like news. It's just them telling old stories.
I do think it's indicative of like the continued changing news broadcast landscape. Right. Like there were a couple headlines yesterday. One, Hubie Brown is stepping away at the end of this year, which I was like, no. And they're like, man's 91 years old. Give him a break. And it's remarkable that he's been able to stay as adept as he has been, given the fact that he's 91. I think it was just last year he got some award somewhere where he said, I don't feel like I'm 90. And I hear that from my parents all the time who are in their 70s. And they'll always say, like, I don't feel like I'm 70. And I think it's such a testament to, like, people who are in older generations. A part of it is just believing that you're not as old as you are. But anyway, so that happens. Around the Horn is going off the air after 23 years, which when I was younger was one of my favorite shows. When I was in journalism school, I was like, I want to be good enough that I can be on Around the Horn someday. And I did.
You just want to like have takes? That's what it was?
And I am surprised. But then I saw that news and I said, why wouldn't they turn Around the Horn into a TikTok show? Because I think it would fit perfectly for like the version of things that pop up on my TikTok. And then we saw that Jason Kelce is getting a late night talk show that's going to be a short run late night show for the last, I think, 5 weeks of the NFL season. But it's just all these different things trying to hit in the broadcast space. But these player podcasts, because they have the backing of being a current player in this case, the NBA, it does get treated as news because it gets treated almost as if something that they said after a game. And I don't think we're ever going to be able to unblur that line.
Well, I'm also thinking like why? I don't know. Do as many NFL players do podcasts as NBA players? Or as many Major League Baseball players? It doesn't seem like it. I know Mookie Betts has a podcast, but I'm just thinking like I don't think a lot of I know a lot of baseball players. I can't think of any like Braves players who have a podcast.
Right, like the only NFL player podcast I can think of is the Kelsey brothers.
Yeah, and I'm thinking like Mahomes doesn't have one. A lot of those guys don't have one. So I don't know. It's almost like it's kind of very much just an NBA thing.
But like if Lamar Jackson had a podcast and he watched the Steelers lose last night and then popped on his podcast today and was like, well, I knew we had a bad game against the Steelers. They're fraudulent.
Yeah.
They're not really a good team. Then that would become news.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't. But it
Why
does.
not? Why shouldn't it be news?
Because it's just opinion. Like we've got to be able
But
to
I mean,
decipher.
we asked Lamar Jackson for his opinion after a game.
We got to decipher opinion from news. We ask him his opinion to sprinkle some of that into a news column where we're breaking down the game. And I'm saying we, but media members, right? Like that's why we're asking him things like that. There's a difference
I do love
between
CJ's
the two.
columns after the games.
Yeah. Just you wait till they come out.
We're waiting.
Yeah, keep waiting. Hold your breath.
Anyway, all of that to say, it's nice to see the players get up for Taylor Jenkins.
By the way, the Jeff Teague podcast is awesome. I don't know if you guys
Is
ever
it?
listened
I
to it.
haven't
Oh, it's
listened
so
to it.
good. And
I've only caught the clips. It seems like it's funny as
It's
hell.
so funny because it's him and like just three of his friends who aren't celebrities, who aren't NBA players. It's just three dudes. I don't know who they are. And Jeff Teague, I was around the Hawks a lot when Jeff Teague was on the team. When he was a rookie, I went on a road trip with him and did a story. And he didn't say a word the whole time. He was the quietest guy. And I've talked to some of his old teammates and people who were around him, and they're all like, he is the last person you would have picked to become a podcaster. But he is so good. There's one, I saw a clip this week with Steven Jackson was the guest on there. And Steven Jackson's cracking up. He's like, you are the best storyteller out there. Like, he's really good at telling these stories. I think it's Club 520 or something's the name of the podcast. Yeah, but it's a really, that's my favorite of the player podcasts.
From
the Jeff Teague one.
what I've seen, I've only consumed it in clips. What makes him so good is one, he's quiet. You know that he didn't talk a lot when he was in the league, and he just feels like a naturally quiet dude. And two, he's so dry and matter of fact with the story, but he knows it's funny. Like he's got a story about what they did after winning the championship in Milwaukee. And he says, basically, you got to find it because it's hilarious. He's like, yeah, we were all like, cool, we finna fly to Vegas. Giannis, let's go. And Giannis like, nah, I'm going home. And then everybody was like, well, we don't want to go to Vegas without Giannis. So everybody went home. He shows his friend, one of the people on the podcast, Lang, walks downstairs in Indiana. He goes back home to Indiana after they win the championship. Like that night, he's in Indiana. The friend walks down the stairs like, yo, what the hell are you doing here? He's just sitting on the game playing the PlayStation or whatever. Like, it's a good story.
Yeah, the thing that I think makes it's kind of the secret sauce for all these podcasts is like humility, and that's why his podcast is so good. Is because he realizes like I'm not a star. I was just like a guy on these teams, and he'll tell stories about when he just got busted by when Derrick Rose scored 50 on him and these other things like that. And that's what makes Charles Barkley so good on Inside the NBA, which is sticking around. Is that those guys can make fun of themselves, and Shaq had trouble with that at first, and then kind of came around. I think. But some of these other ones, like you're kind of like the Draymond one, like it doesn't feel like Draymond likes being the butt of the joke.
Yeah. I think that is a good piece of the equation that makes some different than others. Anyway, as Reddick pointed out in the chat, Micah Parsons has a podcast and recently made some comments about
how they're a good team or something?
No.
I saw Micah Parsons say we're a good team yesterday or something like that. I figured it must have been on his podcast.
That would be a take. That would take it around. Hey, we got the news about Vince Williams Jr. Kind of a bummer. Not kind of a bummer. A bummer.
Yeah.
After he finally came back, grade 3 ankle sprain, will be reevaluated in 4 weeks. The last time we saw a grade 3 ankle sprain, I believe it was Desmond Bain in January of last year. And we did not see Desmond Bain again until
those
March.
are different circumstances.
They are different circumstances and the team in a very different place.
Yeah.
But it's the reevaluated in 4 weeks that can become, sure, we'll take the positive approach. Reevaluate in 4 weeks. Maybe it's great. Maybe he's back. But what was your
Maybe he's back because the way he
take
came
of
back
that?
from the other injury, the stress fracture thing, like it was sort of like, oh, we'll see when he gets back. Then all of a sudden he was just activated that game. And
That's true.
Dez was the same way with the oblique thing. There was week to week, and then all of a sudden he was just back.
Cam Spencer was that way too.
Same way too. So like maybe we're turning a corner here on these injuries, and the guys are being able to come back a little bit sooner than we expected. Yeah, it sucks. We didn't even really get to see Vince get into a rhythm. He only played a couple games. Offensively, he was still kind of figuring it out. He gave them that other ball handler because they were kind of using him as the third point guard a lot. He still loved the getting in on defense and digging in against guys, and was still trying to kind of find himself, I felt like. So, start over, I guess, with that. And hopefully he gets another shot to get out there and kind of find himself and work into the thing. It's been so weird with him coming in and out, Marcus Smart coming in and out, Kennard missed the start. The whole guard rotation, Ja out, has just been so up and down. That's where you're grateful to have a Taylor Jenkins to figure this out.
Well, and you're grateful for the illumination of what you have in Jalen Wells and what you have in Jake LaRavia.
True.
Like, if you had told me you're going to miss Vince Williams Jr. for this amount of time, and then he's going to have a grade 3 ankle sprain and miss again, like, it would have felt pretty devastating at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
But because there is something to be trusted at this point, both in Wells and LaRavia, it gives a little less of a gut punch. It still stinks, and you would prefer to have Vince Williams Jr., someone who, of all of the players at that position, probably has the most realistic path at maybe giving Marcus Smart a run for his money in that starting lineup, but at worst, like, he's coming off the bench, and then there's absolutely zero drop-off when it comes especially defensively. But you're not as desperate for him as you were at the beginning of the year.
Think about what a roller coaster the last year has been for Vince. Like, going into last season, he was a hustle player. And then he works his way into the lineup for the Grizzlies, finally gets a shot at it, and is awesome. And then everybody's like, oh, my gosh, look what we found. We found this guy. And he, of all the guys who, the second half of the season last year, we mentioned Dez being out, all these guys have injuries, and they end up missing so much time. Vince was one of the mainstays. Like, he was the guy who was out there.
And Gigi.
And Jaren, to some extent. Like, those guys were the guys who kind of carried the zombie Grizzlies across the finish line last year. And then he gets into the rotation this year, and he's a rotation player. He gets his contract, everything. Like, we were ready to have Vince as a big part of this thing, and now he's hurt. So it's just been a real up and down year for him, just calendar year for him. And, I hope he gets back and gets healthy, because I like seeing him play.
Goes with the real up and down year for the Grizzlies.
For everybody.
Like, there hasn't been any stability lineup-wise for a long time. Like, even just thinking how few games we have still seen with Ja, Dez, and Jaren all playing together. The team now starts a 5-game stretch. They have one on the road in Chicago and then 4 straight at home. They will all be against below 500 opponents.
Yeah.
Outside of the loss to the Nuggets, the Jokic-less Nuggets, the second time around, the NBA Cup, which we don't speak about the NBA Cup anymore. Whatever.
Overrated.
Terrible. Whose idea was that? Nobody cares about there's NBA Cup games tonight. Who's watching them?
No.
Not me. No. Absolutely couldn't be me. I'll be at Wicked, 7:20 p.m. I can't wait. When it comes to this stretch for the Grizzlies, though, how big do you see these 5 games in terms of being able to maybe gain some ground?
I think it's huge. The Grizzlies need to try defying gravity at this point. Threw that in just for you.
Thank you.
I think they, I was talking to someone the other day, and they're like, a 10-10 start would not be ideal with this schedule. Like, this is the kind of schedule where you should be able to get ahead of yourself a little bit. The 2 losses to Brooklyn were not ideal already this season. Like, there's a couple of games the Grizzlies kind of left on the table that they should have won.
Yes.
And that makes these games here even more important. Especially the way the East is so awful this year seems to suggest the West is going to be tougher because of that. Like, all the wins are going to be on one conference and not the other. So every win you can get matters at this point, and these are the ones you got to kind of stack to help yourself.
We feel like we do this every year, but the top 4 teams in the East have an above 500 record, and everything under it is below 500.
Yeah.
The top 11 teams in the West are above 500, and the Grizzlies are one of them. Right now, they're 9-7. They're in 8th in the West, but I agree. It feels critical to make up ground. This is where Like when you're looking for meaning in an 82-game season in every single game, these are the games that are the difference between potentially getting home court advantage in the playoffs and not.
Oh, for sure. Or even being out of the play-in.
Right.
Just getting in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to go through the play-in with as good as some of these teams are going to be. I mean, hopefully you can get, if you do get stuck in the play-in, you get to play with a team where the guys are all fighting with each other like Minnesota right now or something like that.
Any of those would be preferable. You're driving to Atlanta this weekend.
Yeah, let's go.
We won't catch up with you before Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's true. Well, you'll catch up with me on the warm-up show.
The warm-up show, Monday and Wednesday.
Yeah, before Thanksgiving.
And on the rewind. So we'll be back in action.
I got to go buy a turkey today.
You're buying a turkey. I wanted to ask, because one of my newsletters this morning had an article about lasagna at Thanksgiving. Do you serve lasagna
I do
at
lasagna
Thanksgiving?
at Christmas.
You do lasagna at Christmas?
Yeah, not a turkey at Christmas. We do turkey at Thanksgiving, lasagna at Christmas.
I do ham at Christmas.
Yeah, that's also. Some people do the turkey ham combo.
That's a
at
lot.
Thanksgiving. That's a lot.
Do you do lasagna, CJ?
Turkey ham and lasagna. Yeah.
You do lasagna at Thanksgiving?
Or lasagna or spaghetti at Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Along with
on
mac and cheese?
Yeah.
So you have a two pasta situation.
Mac and cheese is a vegetable, Jessica. What are you talking about?
I'm sorry. Forgive me. That was
on, man.
sometimes the old West Coast just sneaks in.
It has cheese.
And
it's
she
a vegetable.
forgets that mac and cheese is a vegetable. That was on me.
I don't do pasta at Thanksgiving. We
You
don't
don't
have
do any pasta?
No, we do the turkey, some sort of greenery situation, like either collard greens, or I usually do collard greens, but maybe like Brussels sprouts, something like that.
Yeah.
And then dressing. It's like there's your bread carb thing. That could be your pasta, I guess, if you don't. But then I
don't count dressing
I usually
or
do a
stuffing,
potato
so.
too, some sort of potato, either mashed
There's always a
potatoes or
potato.
roast. I like roasted potatoes, crunchy roasted potatoes. So I'll probably do roast potatoes and then gravy and then dessert. Like I don't like if I do pasta, like no one's gonna eat it. Like there's too much other stuff.
I would only eat, like if there was lasagna on my Thanksgiving table, I would only eat the lasagna. I would get so excited
I make
about
lasagna
the
at Christmas
lasagna.
and I make it from scratch. So I make the pasta sheets and like cook it and make the ragu and cook all that down and like it's like a 2-day situation and make a big one and then you eat a third of it on Christmas Day and then you get the rest for the next week and it's so good.
That sounds incredible. Well, I'll see you, but I won't see you on the show because we'll be off next
We
Friday.
have Grizzlies games at Christmas. Maybe we'll be able to.
We do on the
stuff then.
24th and the 26th.
Yeah,
They gave us a Grizzlies game the day before and the day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And the day before and the day after Christmas. So
awesome.
that we could all spend the holidays with our family.
Yeah.
And by our family, I mean you guys, of course.
Yeah, we are family.
Duh, we are family. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. I'm not going to talk to you about the SEC because I can't argue loud enough for Indiana, but I'll talk about Indiana in the next segment in our RAGGOWs, our games of the weekend in college football and the NFL. The biggest game of the weekend being Indiana, Ohio State.
Oh boy.
We'll talk about it.
Let's see a team that's only beaten one team over 500 all
Goodbye,
season.
Lang. Thank you for joining us. We'll discuss when we come back.
Thanks for showing up, Memphis. Nothing compares to catching your Grizzlies IRL. And that all starts with buying tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Ticketmaster gets you to the game so you can catch every highlight. Put that jersey collection to use for the next game and get Grizzlies tickets at Ticketmaster. Whether they're here at FedEx Forum or on the road, Ticketmaster's got your back when it comes to scoring tickets. And there's no better brag than saying you saw it live.
When it's all on the line, you turn to the strong, the stable, the unwavering. To those with a history of raising their performance to meet the moment. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies Checking from Pinnacle. Play hard. Bank easy. Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st. And you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
Thanks for showing up, Memphis. Nothing beats catching your Grizzlies IRL, and nobody knows that better than you. So next time you want to hit up a game, Ticketmaster's got your back with tickets to every upcoming matchup. Whether you're catching the Grizzlies at home or on the road, you'll find tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Keep putting that jersey collection to use and get Grizzlies tickets today. There's no better brag than saying you saw it live. See you courtside again soon, Memphis.
I can't tell you how many people texted me and thought it was the funniest thing ever that you were sitting on the front row in your jersey.
Yo, no.
You were wearing a Tony Allen jersey on the front row. They're like, yo, tell him to check in.
That joke was medium. I told Tia, I said,
Yo,
man,
I
you
did
should
have a hoodie on, though. I mean, a sweater on.
I told Tia, you should have sized up on that joint, man.
Yo, shout out to Robin Hood, man.
The Chris Vernon Show, live on weekdays at noon on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Anthony Melton took my boys, my little guys, to the ice cream stand. He was like, I'm going to get ice cream. You want to go with? So he took my little guys to the ice cream stand. So, guess who their favorite player is now? John Morant. But outside of that, DeAnthony Melton's pretty high up on the list. How about this? We got youth small DeAnthony Melton jerseys at our house right now. Love DeAnthony Melton. That was a fun night.
It was a fun night, man.
The Gary Parrish Show, live on weekdays at 10 a.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Who will lead the Grizz in steals this season?
I'm going to go with Pippen for steals this season.
So I'm going to go with Jaren.
I'm going to go, as long as he's in the rotation, I'm going to go Jake LaRavia for total steals, and I'll have Marcus Smart in my back pocket for steals per game.
Hey, Grizzlies fans, be sure to tune in to Grizzbeat, where the panel and I break down all things Grizzlies and take a look at the rest of the NBA as well. The show is live every Wednesday, 2 p.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Goldberg announces he's going to have a retirement match in 2025, and he said this on College Game Day.
We know you're trying to ride the coattails because the 2025 is supposed to be the year of John Cena. Goldberg, I have a message for you, my guy. We don't care about your retirement match. Your retirement match was 3 years ago. Go somewhere, go away.
Tune in to Grind City Wrestling weekly on the Grind City Media app and on the Grind City Media YouTube channel.
Welcome back. Outside of Grizzlies Bulls this weekend, we have our usual slate of college football and the NFL. So it is time for our RAGGOW games of the weekend in college football, the NFL. And I was out this week when the college football playoff rankings and all of the SEC Colt members rallied together to start decrying Indiana University, undefeated Indiana, who plays Ohio State this weekend, and that is my number one game of the weekend. And in the words of Kurt Signetti, do your research. Google us. Google us, CJ. Are you familiar with the Maple Missile?
What?
The Maple Missile.
That sounds like a porn star. Who is that? That sounds like the dude who was with Ron Jeremy, right? To work those scenes. Who is this person?
He's the Maple Missile.
Okay, tell me more about
Curtis Rourke.
Okay.
Quarterback.
All right.
At Indiana for the Indiana Hoosiers, the football playing Hoosiers.
Okay.
They should have two different mascots.
What?
Don't you think of basketball with Hoosiers?
No.
What is a Hoosier?
Oh, I don't know. I think Indiana with Hoosiers. I never watched Hoosiers the movie. Hoosiers is the one with the old timey movie.
Of course.
With the
You've
white
never
dudes.
seen Hoosiers?
Yeah, no, with the white dudes in the booty shorts playing basketball. Real
Okay,
fundamental
a Hoosier is
basketball.
just a person from Indiana, but I always thought it was a basketball playing person from Indiana.
Okay, turn up.
And Indiana football hasn't been relevant for the longest of time.
Ever.
For my
Ever.
entire existence.
Ever.
They've never beaten Ohio State in my entire
Ever.
existence.
They hadn't been relevant ever. Okay, go ahead.
I am excited for this game because we have the games to play the games. So yes, while at this point in time, Ohio State is a 10.5-point favorite, which is down. I think the line opened at like 13.5.
It was 13.5 yesterday.
Well, they
we
lost
talked
their
about it on
starting
Odds
center.
Couple. Yeah.
They lost their starting center.
To a what?
Achilles.
Okay. I just know how near
Another one.
that cause is
Another
to
one
your
by
heart.
Stus. I had some sincere exposure therapy last night being at that basketball tournament. It was at Methodist Le-Bon. It was a Methodist Le-Bonner basketball tournament, and it was a bunch of weekend warriors. They were hoopers. Those physicians over at Le-Bon or associates over at Methodist, like they can play, but having to sit there and watch, they weren't even in basketball shoes, some of them. And I was like, do you know how you are on the precipice of disaster by playing? They didn't stretch. They played 4 8-minute quarters, and then just took half off. It's like, keep stretching. Put that Achilles up against the wall and start stretching that calf, buddy. If the Ohio State starting center can tear his Achilles, you can tear yours. Chris was like, you've got to get over this. You've got to get over this. And I was like, I'm like shivering watching. I just watch their calves at every second of the game. But alas, that is a big loss for Ohio State. And this is a big opportunity, 10-0 Indiana, Ohio State 9-1. All of the rigmarole on if Indiana loses this game, just loses this game, should they be out of the college football playoff. I am of the belief that they have to get vaporized to not make the college football playoff. If this is a close game, if this is a one-possession game, and you have a one-loss Indiana team, how is that much different than Penn State's resume? And why are you arguing for Penn State to be in and Indiana not?
Penn State has played more teams with winning records. That's the difference in the two. Haven't they? I think they have. Also, Penn State will have played 10 FBS schools to Indiana's 9. Right?
That's one different.
Schedule somebody other than Western Illinois.
They don't make these schedules the year of the season.
Okay, get rid of that then. Get Western Illinois off of your schedule. That's your fault for going out there scheduling cream puffs in the out of conference. That will be the difference. That their out of conference strength of schedule is atrocious. It is abysmal.
But what is the difference between
West Virginia is the difference. That's the difference.
Alabama played Mercer. Georgia played Chattanooga. Vanderbilt played Georgia State and lost, and then beat Alabama.
Yeah,
and Alabama is still slated to be in the college football playoff.
Because Alabama has wins over Georgia and LSU. What are we talking about here? Who's Indiana's best win? 6-5 Washington? Like that's a difference. That's a big ass difference. I understand that. Listen, Indiana's a fun story. I enjoy Indiana. Lose this game, you're out of the playoffs because you didn't play anybody. They've been dominant also. This isn't like Indiana squeaking by teams. This isn't the BYU or the Miami of college football this year where they've gotten really, really lucky, those two teams, to be in the positions that they are. And I think that luck has run out for BYU.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about that in a little bit. Indiana's the only team in the nation, top 15 in total scoring, in yards per game,
yes,
and total defense, and defensive points allowed per game. The only team in the nation. They trailed by 10 to Michigan State in the first quarter.
47 straight.
Scored 47 straight. It wasn't until Michigan that they trailed, right? It was Michigan where they trailed for a significant portion of the game.
And if
that
you
was
want
the first
to have
time.
one indictment on their season, it would be the second half against Michigan, where they couldn't do anything. Now, was that one game?
No, I think the one indictment is you hadn't played anybody. That's the indictment.
You
that
play
is
the
difference.
schedule that you have.
Schedule better, and you control your out of conference. Get Western Illinois, get whichever MAC school, Kent State, I guess, get them the F off your schedule if you want to get there.
We're going to talk about Notre Dame, who has a loss to Northern Illinois, who has the worst loss of any of these teams. You're telling me that a Notre Dame team
Yes, I am.
with a loss to Northern Illinois should get in ahead of an Indiana team that has a loss to Ohio State?
Yes. Does Notre?
Insane.
It's not insane. Did Notre Dame play Texas A&M? At Texas A&M? Did they beat Texas A&M? At Texas A&M? Are they finna play Army this week as well?
I just hope Indiana comes out and kicks ass and shuts everyone the F up.
They're not. I hope so also.
I've seen crazier things.
Let me be clear. The craziest thing about this college football season is 10-0 Indiana.
Yes.
Like that's wild. Go back and look at what Indiana has been historically. And by the totality of Indiana's existence, they've been a punching bag for everybody else in the Big Ten, save maybe Purdue and every now and then Northwestern. For them to be this right now speaks to the job Cignetti has done. And no matter what happens going forward the rest of the season, I would expect them to beat Purdue, an 11-win Indiana team. They wouldn't be in the Big Ten championship game. And I don't think a one-loss. Yeah, they wouldn't be in the Big Ten championship game because they'd have the one loss to Ohio State, assuming Ohio State wins out, right? So they wouldn't be in the Big Ten championship game. In my opinion, they wouldn't be in the CFP or shouldn't be in the CFP. But that's your coach of the year right there. Yeah. It's Cignetti, because that is truly phenomenal. Both things can be true. Indiana can be a good program, just not deserving of a spot in the CFP.
Listen, if, like you said, I would have an entire different perspective on this. If Indiana had been lucking their way into win after win on, again, a schedule that was determined years in advance. It's not like Curt Cignetti comes in,
People buy
brings
out
in his
schedules
James
all the
Madison
time.
transfers, and says, I want to create as easy of a schedule as possible. It is a schedule he inherited and a schedule that they have navigated, not just small wins, but they have crushed opponents along the way, outside of a 5-point win over Michigan last week. And if it is within a touchdown to Ohio State, I think it is asinine that we are arguing for 4 SEC teams to be in the college football playoff instead of Indiana at that rate. What are we doing? Might as well make it the SEC playoff.
We can't. It should be.
This whole point
it
was
should
that
be.
they've already tried to make it
should
the
be.
SEC and the Big Ten.
It should
so you're
be.
taking one of the Big Ten teams out of they're supposed to be the 2 super leagues. We all know how this actually goes. If this was an ACC team or a Big 12 team, they would make it would be an even harder case for Indiana to make. But Indiana is in the Big Ten. They are supposed to be perceived in a conference that is of greater magnitude than all of those other conferences outside of the SEC. And if you're starting this argument now, then you literally might as well just start playing an SEC league.
It should be SEC and Big Ten. Everybody else get in where you fit in. 1. 2, Indiana didn't play Oregon. They'll play Ohio State. They didn't play Penn State. They didn't play Illinois. You can say, okay, that's the conference. They can't do anything about the conference schedule. You can do something about your out of conference. And if we're going to reward teams for playing garbage, absolute pitiful ass football teams in the out of conference, why would I, being a Power 5 school, specifically in the SEC and the Big Ten, why in the hell would I schedule anybody worth a damn in my out of conference? Where's the incentivization there?
Because then you won't even be having this conversation. Everyone is going to try. We're going to get to a place where, and we're talking about it with the SEC right now, should they play 9?
Yes, they
SEC
should.
games? I think both those conferences should just play your whole schedule at that point. Just turn it into the SEC and the Big Ten. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah,
and I hope Army beats Notre Dame. That's my second game, but we'll get to that when we get to it.
Yeah, like why? If I'm Arkansas. Why the hell would I schedule Oklahoma State anymore? Why the hell would I schedule a team from a power conference anymore? If you're telling me all I have to do is 1, get lucky with my conference schedule, and 2, it doesn't matter who you play in the out of conference.
That's a lot of luck for getting lucky with a conference schedule.
It
Because
happens
like you're
all the
saying
time.
with
It's not-
Indiana right now, they're lucky. You're saying they're lucky because of their conference schedule, but really they're unlucky because of their conference schedule because now they aren't able
lucky.
to back up what they have done on the field because you're
Against
making
bad
fake
teams.
hypothetical.
Against bad teams, Jessica.
So what?
You gotta be good teams.
Oh my God.
So if all that matters is winning, which I'm fine with, and we're not gonna add the extra caveat in this sport with 100 and how many teams? 130 plus teams in it. And of those 130 plus, let's be real, 15 to 20 of them are any damn good. If all that matters is winning, I'll just say, hey, you know what? I'm South Carolina. I won't schedule anybody worth a damn. Clemson, that rivalry game, I think it's in our best interest to get rid of that.
But it's also not just, it's the full composite of this Indiana team. It is statistically what they are offensively, what they are defensively, and the fact that they're 10-0. This isn't some measly peasly team that's trickling towards even like bottom 10 of scoring, bottom 50 defense in the country. They're a good team. And if you can't take the metrics of a good team and say they've won the games they're supposed to play, and if they go into Ohio State, big noon territory, and at least play them close, I don't know what we're doing. Because it shows that they can at least play Ohio State close. And Ohio State lost to Oregon.
And beat Penn State.
And Penn State almost lost to USC, and sure they won, but USC's pitiful.
Those stats.
You can look at every single game. This is why we play the games.
Those stats are very inflated because the best 3 wins they got are what? Washington, Nebraska, and who? Right? Like that's why those stats are the way that they are. They're inflated and they're overvalued because of the easiness of their schedule. They lose this game, they should be completely out of the CFP conversation. But Cignetti should absolutely still be your coach of the year. And what's my man's name? The Maple Rocket?
Curtis Rourke.
Will probably be a top 10 Heisman vote getter, right? Like should be. If I did my top 10.
The Maple Missile.
What I call him?
rocket getter.
Okay.
Something.
Yeah, whatever. The Maple rocket getting missile will probably be top 10 Heisman. This not getting to the
Does
CFP.
it change your mind if Nebraska becomes a bowl eligible team this weekend?
There's a lot of teams on Indiana's schedule that can become bowl eligible.
Washington's already there.
That's one who's there, and that's the only one that's bowl eligible. Nobody in there out of conference can become bowl eligible.
No.
Nebraska can become bowl eligible this weekend. Michigan can become bowl eligible this weekend. I think there's one more team with a win who could become bowl eligible this weekend. But bowl eligibility does not equal good, right? Like, that's not my measurement for good. What matters is, how many games are you playing versus teams like you? 1. 2, how many teams are you playing versus teams like you with those teams being good teams? That's what matters. So Indiana fails that when compared to everybody else. They fail that measurement every single time. I can't pit one loss in Indiana in over one loss Penn State, because Penn State did go out there and schedule FBS West Virginia, and Indiana didn't schedule anybody. I can't pit Indiana with one loss to Ohio State in over any of the 2-loss teams in the SEC, because those 2-loss teams, while Ole Miss and Tennessee have terrible losses on their resume. I want to be clear. Losing to Arkansas, losing to Kentucky means that you are not guaranteed a shot in the playoff, means that you did not earn your spot into the playoff. We can talk about it, and when talking about it, I would sit there and say, oh, this is the same Ole Miss team that beat Georgia? This is the same Tennessee team that beat Alabama? Right? Like, okay, those wins are better than anything else Indiana has done. So they lose there as well. I hate it for them. Sucks for them. Schedule better in your out of conference. You come in, buy out some of these FCS games and say, you know what, we're only playing FBS opponents.
I can't yell anymore.
Okay. Next game.
What's your game?
Tennessee State versus SEMO.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's on the
Give it
line,
to me,
baby. It's FCS football. This game matters for me from HBCU standpoint. Tennessee State wins, and if they get losses by Tennessee Tech and UT Martin, Tennessee State wins the Big South OVC. But in thinking about it more, we're Team Tennessee. We love all the teams in Tennessee.
Sure do.
Tennessee State has to win this game to allow the other teams in the great state of Tennessee to get a shot at winning the Big South. If Southeast Missouri wins this, that's it. Southeast Missouri is your Big South OVC champion. But if Tennessee wins it, there are various scenarios that play out, with all of the scenarios, all but one of the scenarios, leading to one of Tennessee State, UT Martin, Tennessee Tech getting into the FCS playoffs. Also, I saw on the Memphis bridge, they had some like Tennessee advertisement, like One State or something like that in orange with like Go Vols or something. That's ridiculous. You can't do that in this city. All right, that's my game. What's yours?
Sean in the chat said Alabama losing to Vandy should automatically kick them out of the college football playoff, in which case I would say Ole Miss losing to Kentucky should do the same thing. Tennessee losing to Arkansas.
Okay, great. Did Indiana play a team close to Georgia?
Okay, but those teams did play those teams.
No. Did Indiana play a team close to a Georgia?
No, but I'm talking about teams that actually played legitimate football games that were played in which they lost.
Did Indiana play a team close to Tennessee? No. Did Indiana play a team close to Alabama? No. Did Tennessee play a team close to LSU? No. So those teams have wins over those types of competition, right? So that's why they get in. It's about the whole resume, not just the losses. As bad as those losses are, Indiana hadn't played. Indiana didn't play a team good enough as good as Arkansas.
We ignore losses that happen earlier in the season, then potential situations that happen down the stretch. One of those being my second game of the week, Notre Dame Army, and I hope our United States Army goes to Notre Dame and just ends this. But I'm not sure they will, because I just don't know who Notre Dame is, because Notre Dame is a team that lost to Northern Illinois. When we're talking about legitimate football games that have been played with results that are factual, we're talking in facts, things that have happened. Facts, not feelings. I thought you were the furthest right person on this show. Facts,
These aren't feelings. You're the one being feelings.
I'm not being feelings. I'm saying Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois.
No, we're talking about Indiana now. You're absolutely
I'm talking
being
about Notre
feelings.
Dame right now.
Okay, well, all right. Go ahead.
We'll see how this game goes. Okay. That's all I can say. I don't know who Notre Dame is as a team. And we'll see if 9-0 Army gives them a scare, or if Notre Dame will be able to knock off Army this week. They will play USC. It will be USC Super Bowl at the Coliseum Thanksgiving weekend, and one other opportunity to keep Notre Dame out of this mix. I'm intrigued how this goes.
Yeah, I think you know exactly what Notre Dame is. You don't want to believe it because of the loss to Northern Illinois, and that's Notre Dame is a good football team. I don't know what it is about Notre Dame in the Freeman era, but this is what they do. They lose to Northern Illinois, they lose to Marshall, and then you look up and you're like, wait, how the hell does Notre Dame have 10, 11 wins? When I watched them earlier this year lose to an abysmal football team, right? Like that's sort of what their MO is, and that's sort of what they do. Notre Dame would be sitting there with wins over Louisville, wins over Texas A&M, wins over Army.
Navy, who's fallen off.
Do we think Navy is worth pitting in that?
No.
Okay, so it's just those 3 wins.
Not when they got shut out 35-0.
So it's just those 3, right? Good wins. You would call them good wins? Tell me what are the so you're calling those fine wins?
Yeah.
Okay, fine wins.
I'm not inspired.
Perfect. Okay, you're calling those.
I would only be inspired by the Texas A&M win. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It takes me a little bit of time to get the words out right now.
Calling those fine wins.
Sure.
How many fine wins does Indiana have?
I'll call their win over Washington fine, and I'll call their win over Michigan fine. Yeah. If you want to do that, go for it.
You got it. Next up for me, I will go Arizona State. I almost said Arkansas. Arizona State versus BYU. BYU has been at the top of that conference for all season. But they hadn't looked particularly good while being at the top. They lost last week. They should have lost, 2 or 3 other games? I think the wheels are about to come off for BYU. Also, I love Dillingham at Arizona State. Here's what he had to say about the tiebreakers in the Big 12.
I have no clue. I literally have no. Somebody was telling me if we win and somebody else loses, and then like ranch dressing falls on a wing, I don't really know. It just play the very best you can play, prepare the very best you can prepare, and like I told the guys last week in my leadership council meeting, like don't get lost in the sauce. Like just be the very best we can be over and over again, and wherever we end up is the best we could have ever done. That's it. Like, you can wish and hope, but if you just play the very best you can play and prepare the very best you can prepare, then regardless of what happens, it's the very maximum you could have ever achieved anyways. So what else do you want? So I have no clue the tiebreaker.
Don't get lost in the sauce.
If a ranch dressing falls on a wing, I literally laughed out loud when I heard him say that.
I love him.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So Arizona State, BYU, national implications. That's the thing about this week and why going to 12 games matters so much. All of the games, with the exception of Tennessee State SEMO, all the other games have major national implications with them.
The Colorado-Kansas game is right in there.
Yep.
Because as it pertains to who is going to be the representative from the Big 12.
You got to win the Big 12. You got to win the Big 12.
To represent the Big 12. And that Kansas team has gotten better. Jalen Daniels finally playing pretty well. And
you're not the only person. I've heard other people say that. I watched Kansas because Kansas was like, Kansas and Arizona were my picks in that conference. I was like, oh, yeah, these are the two best teams.
State.
And then they both have not lived up to that at all. So I've been out of Kansas since like week 4. But you're the fourth or fifth person to bring up, hey, this Kansas team has figured it out. I might have to sit down and watch them.
But the problem is Jalen Daniels against top 25 opponents has been historically very bad. I think he's 0-8 in top 25 games. So we'll see if he's able to, and he throws a ton of picks in those games as well. NFL games for this weekend. I'll start with Niners-Packers. My husband declared the Niners dead last week. I think they still have a small heartbeat, but if they were to lose to the Packers this weekend, they might actually be DOA. Nothing left to give. And given the fact that the Niners have beaten the Packers in 3 of the last 5 postseasons, for the Packers, if you could knock out the Niners ahead of time and then not have to hypothetically deal with them in the postseason, that'd be a pretty good strategy to have. We'll see what the status of Brock Purdy is. He's been up in the air all week dealing with this shoulder injury, but it does feel as if the Niners season is hanging in the balance of winning this game. Both teams can't score within the 20, so.
I was thinking about doing a segment called Hammer Nail Coffin, where we just recklessly proclaim, and this is my game of the week also, I do believe, first game up. We just recklessly proclaim teams dead, a nod, homage to the great Pete Pranica.
Yes.
Do we need his permission? I'll ask him.
Ask him.
I'll ask him and then ask him if we can use his voice for the imaging component. Because this is that game for the 49ers. They lose this, and I'm with you. Their season is over. Start getting ready for 2025. Do your best to get people healthy. Figure out what you're doing from a Debo, McCaffrey standpoint. Figure out what you're doing with Purdy as well, and get ready for 2025, man. What's your next game?
My next game is Lions Colts, because I'm curious if Anthony Richardson can do it 2 weeks in a row, going from getting benched to coming back. He just had the best game of his career, completed 20 of 30 passes against the Jets, threw 1 touchdown, rushed for 2 touchdowns. Now you play the Lions, who have the league's highest scoring team, has scored 40-plus points in 4 of their home wins this season. Does that cause Anthony Richardson to get a little helter-skelter with it, to get a little reckless with the ball, and he reverts back to not making the best decisions? Anthony Richardson. We shall see. What's your second NFL game?
Major implications in this game for both teams. It's the Titans versus Texans. The Texans, with that Steelers loss, with a win, moves within a half game to Pittsburgh. And that is important. Right now, as it stands, the Texans are the 4 seed. They would end up playing the 5 seed, and that's the Chargers. But what I expect to happen is that will be the Ravens when it's all said and done. And if you do that, and if everything else holds, you would go divisional round matchup against the Ravens at home, but then you'd go on the road to take on the Chiefs in the conference semis, and then you would play a conference championship game on the road against the Bills, and that's just brutal for anybody. So if you can avoid that, that's what you want to do. And so that's on their side of things. On the Titans side of things, the Jaguars are right now the worst team in the NFL from a record standpoint, and they have a bye, though. So both teams are sitting there with 2 wins. The Jags have 9 losses. The Titans only have 8. So with a loss, the Titans tie Jacksonville for the number 1 draft spot. So this is an important game to lose for the Titans, which means they should probably start Will Levis.
They absolutely should.
Although it doesn't matter who they start. They can start the other guy. Who's the other guy? It's not Andy Dalton. It's one of those Dalton-esque.
No, it's
Mason Rudolph. Oh, yes. Andy Dalton with blonde hair. Yeah. Start one of those bums.
You can't call it Andy Dalton with blonde hair, because Andy Dalton is Andy Dalton because he is the Red Rocket. Like, I feel like Andy Dalton's entire being is linked to his hair color, which is unfair to the play of Andy Dalton. But it just...
Wait, what do you mean unfair to the play of Andy Dalton? Andy Dalton isn't good.
Like, you can't have a non-redheaded Andy Dalton.
Yes, you can.
I don't think you can.
Yeah, his name? Mason Rudolph. They both got the same rectangle-ass face.
All right, well, we got to take a break. Those are our RAGGOWs. We'll take a break here. We will come back. We will do a little Music Friday. I'll tell you what song made me cry to start my Friday. CJ turned me on to one of my surprise favorite albums of the year. Shut up, CJ. Get out of here.
I put you on.
I can't argue anymore with you. I can't yell at you.
Like, I put you on, Jessica.
I can't believe I took 8 steps back in my laryngitis arguing about Indiana football.
I can't believe you're willing to risk your voice for Indiana football.
Feels on brand. We'll be back. We'll talk about what we're listening to going into the weekend when we come back.
Can't wait. It's time to get it popping. It's going to be crazy. The fans are going to be loud. We need just energy.
We're going to need, the form rocking. We're going to need, everybody in Memphis to be out there to come to support.
When the fans are good, we're good. Simple as that.
A Bane 3, yes sir! Desmond Bane with ice water in his veins.
We'll ride the energy together.
Sonic Radio. Welcome back to Sonic RNDIO. That spells radio with me, the CIO. This just in, the new Sonic $1.99 menu lets you build a crave-worthy meal for just $1.99 an item. Whether that's a creamy shake, crispy tots, or a quarter-pound double cheeseburger. This just out. Ostriches. They're mean, not very cute, and in my opinion, way too big for a bird. Don't miss the Sonic Fun 99 menu. 5 items, always $1.99. Live free, eat Sonic.
Tax not included. See menu for details.
Grizzlies fans, dunks, dimes, and no-looks are great on TV, but nothing compares to catching them IRL. And that starts with buying tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Ticketmaster gets you to the game so you can catch every highlight in person. From seeing your favorite Grizzlies stars up close to hearing the squeak of the sneakers on the hardwood. Put that jersey collection to use and get tickets at Ticketmaster. There's no better brag than saying you saw it live. See you courtside, Memphis.
Now every time you go to Miami, you can go see, like, that's a statue of me there.
No, I don't look nothing like that thing, man. Look, I'm sorry.
I would have been offended.
Look at that. That is UTA.
Oh, my God.
That is Cody.
Oh, look. Hey, y'all got to get that screenshot, man. Put that on the
The Chris Vernon Show, live on weekdays at noon on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
It's the top 5 worst teams in the NFL. I think the Panthers are the worst team in the NFL.
I got the Saints #1. Ha! Let's put the Aints up there. They're terrible.
I'll take the Titans as my worst team in the NFL. If they played Will Levis, they're for sure the worst team. Maybe in NFL history. Might be worse than the 0-16 Lions if they play Will Levis.
The Odds Couple, live at 2 p.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Yellow laces, really bright yellow primary color. You got black on the trim and on the edges. And you got some red there as well. Look at that right there, Mike. Look at that right there.
Man, look at that G. Look at that G, boy. That G is moving strong right there, too, man.
Get all of your HBCU sports and culture news by tuning in to HBCU Huddle with CJ Hurt and Mike Wallace. New episodes drop every Thursday on grindcitymedia.com, YouTube, and Spotify.
Welcome back. Our poll question of the day is the Justin Timberlake Forget Tomorrow World Tour commercial worthy of
It's
Hall
not.
of Fame induction? And I regret to inform the people it's not.
Why are you regretting to inform the people when the people voted? They're
Yeah, but
rejoicing.
38% of us said yes.
You guys were wrong.
Myself included.
We had people threatening legal action if we played that commercial one more time.
Yeah.
RB, solid.
You're not going, are you?
No, I got friends, like multiple groups of friends going. So I look forward to them posting and me doing my best to avoid it.
Somebody asked me yesterday if I was going. They were surprised that I wasn't. And I said,
I'm surprised also.
you know, that last show that I saw when he was at the Orpheum, the pop-up concert, and the way we got into that show by just walking up to the front door in the middle of a snowstorm and getting corralled with a small group of people to try to fill space because people who actually got tickets to that show weren't able to go, and then watching Justin Timberlake do his greatest hits in that kind of intimate setting, I'm good. Like, I never need to see him again. I would love for that to be my last live performance of Justin Timberlake. It was perfect, and I need nothing more. And it's not because anything ruined the tour. What tour? The world tour. It is simply because it was a great night of music, and I also don't need to hear this album in concert. So and I feel like that's where I'm at with my Justin Timberlake love and lore. But I did think that being a Memphis, Tennessee native would have given him the bump into the Hall of Fame.
No, we don't. There's no bumps like that. We're a non-biased selection committee, Jessica.
I know.
Like he's
We're
a
true.
solid commercial. We didn't put Maxwell into the Hall of Fame either. You got to be special to get in the Hall of Fame.
I wonder who our next one will be. We didn't put Lauren Daigle in.
Didn't put Lauren Daigle. You got to hit
You know,
us.
I can't remember the sound of the Lauren Daigle commercial, but I can remember the sight.
Yeah.
Because it was like the kaleidoscope.
Yep. Because it was the Kaleidoscope tour, wasn't it? Yeah. We didn't. You got to be
We
peanut
stopped
butter jelly
running the
good.
Billy Strings commercial.
Yep. That
He's
one
coming
was
for 2 nights.
That one was just music, though.
I know.
Like you got to
It wasn't
give us.
indicative
you
of
give
how
us,
great Billy Strings
Yeah. You got
is.
to hit us with something special, man.
I can't wait to find out what the next one is.
I can't either. I'm looking forward to it.
It's gonna be a good one. All right. We do get the Millennium Tour coming back. Did you see that?
I got that email, but they never do commercials.
We need Trey Songz
Because they
to do
don't
a
have
commercial.
to. Wait, Trey Songz is on the Millennium
Trey
Tour
Songz
now?
It's Trey Songz, Omarion, and Bow Wow.
Really?
And if we had a train.
Is Chingaling coming? Equipped with much dingaling? Is he coming?
Wait, the Yin Yang Twins are coming.
Of course they are. This is Millennium Tour. Like, they're always on the Millennium
must
Tour.
come back. No, it's Boosie, Yin Yang, Ray J.
Boosie? Like Lil Boosie?
Bobby V.
Wait, Lil Boosie's coming?
Pleasure P. And a special appearance by Rick Ross. I always say I want to go to the Millennium Tour. And then it rolls around and there's something going on where I can't go to the Millennium Tour.
Lil Boosie's on the Millennium Tour.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine when is this?
It's the summer. They only do it in the summer. It's got to be June.
April 6th.
Oh, April. Okay, that'll work.
If we started playing a commercial tomorrow that used Bottoms Up for a year, would that would that be destined to make the Hall of Fame?
It depends on
If
what the
every
other,
morning I got to hear
other songs
Bottoms
were.
Up, Bottoms Up.
It depends on what the other songs were.
I can't wait to see.
Yeah.
All right. I regrettably did not listen to a ton of new music this morning because I made the mistake of pressing play on the Wicked movie soundtrack, and it took me 20 seconds to start crying. 20 seconds into the soundtrack for a movie that I am seeing tonight. All I had to hear was, good news, she's dead, and I was in tears, and I could not figure out why I had such a visceral reaction to this album.
I got to make I don't know what to call this, timestamp for the topics. I got Jessica Cries Tears of
Nostalgia
for the Wicked soundtrack.
Or joy. I mean, joy
is it joy? Were they tears of joy?
Yeah, because it sounded perfect.
Tears of joy for
it sounded so good. And I listened to the first half, and then I forced myself to stop because I didn't want to ruin the entire movie. And apparently there's some surprises on the album, but I already know the surprises on the album. But I won't spoil it for someone who by chance has avoided, because I'm trying to be spoiler-free in this era in my life.
Wicked soundtrack.
Yes.
You listen to the Broadway musical?
No, this is the
movie?
new. So the movie soundtrack dropped at midnight.
Oh, so I didn't know that.
Like,
okay, so the movie musical soundtrack dropped at midnight,
yes.
and you listened to it. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And it sounds like it's not.
So wait, that's new music. You listen to new music
technically.
Then. Okay, I'm sorry to keep cutting you
No,
off. Your
you're
voice
fine.
is weak. You got to go.
No, you're fine. It's technically new music. It sounds like it's made for a movie, which I think is good. Like, it doesn't sound like it's trying to imitate the original Broadway cast. Like, I grew up on that Kristen Chenoweth, Idina Menzel Wicked soundtrack. And I think that's where I've been trying to think why Wicked has such a hold on, especially people my age who grew up like loving musical theater. And I think it really represented the first show that you could get head over heels obsessed with, because it was kind of in that period where like celebrity culture started to rise, and Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel became as big as the show in that era. And I remember like getting my hands on that CD, and I would go grocery shopping with my mom, and I would beg for my mom to let me sit in the car while she went to the grocery store. And the only reason I wanted to sit in the car was so that I could sing along to the Wicked album. And then I remember one time my mom came back and she said, "You know, I can hear you." She's like, "You're singing so loud, I can hear you when I'm bringing the shopping cart back down."
What age are you
lot.
as this is happening?
11, 12. And it was such a Broadway cultural moment, and now to have it be extended into like the greater pop culture moment feels really special. I've gotten really caught up in Ariana Grande, who admittedly when she was cast, I didn't really love the casting, and now I think it's perfect. And hearing her talk about how it was her dream and how much this role means to her, and like everything leading up to her getting this chance, she sounds great. Cynthia Riva sounds great on the album. I can't wait. I will probably cry 6 times tonight.
It's the appreciation both of those actresses have for this role is endearing, and I think it tells everybody else out there how special of a movie this is going to be, and how special of a Broadway show this thing was for everybody in the theater community. I think we're going to go see it next weekend, next Friday. But yeah, I saw it. The first time I saw Wicked was at the Orpheum what was that, August?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the first time I watched it. I look forward to seeing it play out on the big screen. I texted my wife's sister. She's got a daughter. I texted her like, "Hey, is there any interest in seeing Wicked?" And she usually takes a little bit to text me back. No, that text was immediate. Yes. When are we going to go see it, right? Like there's an excitement across demographics for this movie. I look forward to seeing what it does at the box office.
My other album that I've listened to this week while I've been sick and have been putting it on during my afternoon naps, and it's perfect. Jon Batiste released a Beethoven Blues album. It's so good. Like, if you like piano at all, CJ and our wonderful social media superstar Luke, when I came back on Monday or Tuesday of this week, they said, have you listened to this Jon Batiste album? And I was like, no, I hadn't even heard of it. It hadn't crossed my timeline. And now I've probably listened to it like 4 or 5 times all the way through. It's really delightful. Like, if you need music to play in the back of your work today, might I suggest Jon Batiste doing Beethoven with a little blues element to it.
When I work, I need to listen to jazz.
Yeah.
So Boney James is my go-to. I think it's Grover Washington Jr. I listen to him some as well. But that's usually as deep as I go into the jazz sphere. This is incredible. I've been listening to this as well. Now, I've listened to it like 5 or 6 times all the way through to completion, and then a handful of songs have been playing here or there. I've got housework to do. This will be on when I'm doing housework, right? Like I find, and I know that I'm wrong, so I know, but I find Beethoven, Mozart, the classical composers to be remarkably boring, uninteresting, unentertaining, and unseasoned, right? Wow. Like, I think that they're just bad. Jon Batiste's take on Beethoven, though, with that New Orleans sort of flair, some blues elements thrown in there, some jazz components thrown in there as well. He's a master on the piano. The way that he blends the classical with the modern is it adds seasoning to the classical, for lack of a better phrase, and it makes me feel something. Like, I listen to Beethoven or Mozart, and I get frustrated because it's like, yo, I'm wasting my time. Why am I listening to this? I listen to Batiste's take on Beethoven. It's like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. This might be the best thing I've listened to all year.
Yeah, no, I think that's actually a really good point in terms of how to make classical music like continue to thrive. And I think what Jon Batiste did here is something that could be taken and applied to Mozart and Debussy and Bach and like a lot of the stuff I grew up playing on piano that doesn't really have any place to live now because we're just not listening to classical music in that way. And if you put this spin on it, it becomes so much more enjoyable. It doesn't sound like elevator music. It sounds like something you would choose to put on. So that's what I'm listening to going into the weekend. We have survived the week. Hopefully when I'm here on Monday, we will be back at like, what are we calling it? 98% vocal capacity, CJ? Do we think we can get to 98%? I don't know.
No.
This show took a lot out.
No, because you're going to be yelling about Indiana football.
I probably am.
There's a chance they might get screwed on a call, and you're just going to be, ah! And then your voice is going to go away again.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's rough.
Tough. Well, CJ and I'll be at the Memphis Hustle game tomorrow night.
We will.
And if you would like to see us out at the Lander Center, be sure to get your tickets to go witness the Memphis Hustle taking on the Texas Legends. It is Hustle and Hounds night, so there will be all kinds of adoptable dogs there and available for adopting going into the holidays. You know what would make Thanksgiving great? If you went and found a dog at the Hustle game and took it to your Thanksgiving meal. That makes everyone happy. But we will see you there. We'll be back on Monday. I'm fading. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Did you say I'm faded?
I'm fading.
Oh, I was like, oh.
I don't have anything left to give.
Oh, shoot. Turn up. We getting faded in the studio.